Is it going, Angelina? Cool. I'm recording this one, so if y'all want to, hopefully, if it actually works right, y'all will be able to watch it again, repeat it, replay it, listen to me again, praise the Lord, on my YouTube channel. So look me up, Mike Ammonizer, YouTube. Check me out. Little plug there. Thank you. Yes, I post a daily video. Anyway, yeah, so obviously, my boy Jason's not here tonight, so I will be preaching tonight. Always thankful for this opportunity. Sad that he's not here, but, you know, I enjoy getting a chance to do this. So we are in the middle of a series called Through the Fire. Over the past 2 weeks, Pastor Jason's first time I ever said that. Use that. I like it. It works. It fits. Anyway, so over the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about Through the Fire and how the fire works in friendship and how we build friendships in the fire. And so for the first week, we talked about that true friendships can be forged in the fire. And we've been kind of using the analogy of metal, you know, to where steel in a hot enough temperature and in the fire, it can be forged into something awesome. Like just a lump of steel doesn't do you a lot of good unless you want to like throw it at somebody, but I don't suggest it. But it doesn't do you a lot of good, but if you get it hot enough, you can form it into whatever you need it to be. And then last week, we talked about that through the fire, true friendship can bring healing and mending. And so, again, using steel, we watched a dope video about the reforging of Narsil, the steel little sword. I like Lord of the Rings, but anyway. And we talked about how in the fire, you know, the broken pieces of our lives and the broken pieces of metal can be put back together. When you get it hot enough, it can be mended. And so, over the last 2 weeks, both of these have kind of been talking about the fire of life that is just life coming against you, because life is crazy sometimes. Stuff gets wild, stuff gets intense. There's a real devil out there who hates you, wants to kill you. There's real people out there that love helping him. And so life can be rough sometimes. And so there's always going to be fire that comes against you. And the idea of all of that is that in that time of fire, when life is a mess, because you don't really get to control whether life is going to attack you or not, but you do get to control who's there with you. And so the idea is that in the inevitable fires of life, the true friends in your life can be forged and you can grow stronger, and the true friends in your life can help bring healing to you. But this week, we're going to change it up slightly, talking about the fire. But first, I want to read something real quick. But before I read it, I want to give you some backstory. We're going to be reading in 2 Samuel chapter 12. But real quick, I'm going to give you an idea of where we're at. So David, King David, he was chilling one time. He sent his army out to war. He stayed home. Wasn't really supposed to do that, but whatever. He sent his army out to war, and he's chilling out on his balcony or whatever, having a good old time, being king. And he looks over yonder, and he sees a beautiful woman bathing on the roof. Why she was bathing on the roof? I don't know. Must have been a thing back then. But she was bathing on the roof, and so he's like, oh, she's hot. I'm king. I do what I want. And so just so happened that her husband was one of the soldiers in David's army. And so David gets his general, and he's like, hey bro, so I want you to take homeboy, and I want you to put him on the front line of battle, and then tell everyone else just kind of like, take a couple steps back, so that he'll die. And he's like, all right, boss, you're the king. And so he does it. And so Bathsheba's husband dies, and David's like, oh, that's so sad. You can come be my wife. Try. But anyway, so that kind of brings us up to here. But anyway, so that kind of brings us up to here. So we're going to start in 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 1. It says, the Lord sent Nathan to David. When he came to him, he said, there were 2 men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb. I don't know what an ewe lamb is, but that's okay. Had nothing but a little ewe lamb. That makes sense. He raised it, and it grew up with him and his children. It shared his food, drunk from his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. It's so wholesome. Anyway. Now a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, he took the ewe lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for the one who had come to him. David burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan, "As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this deserves to die. He must pay for the lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and had no pity." Side note, my boy, humanity, trips me out. So blind. Then Nathan said to David, "You are the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave your master's house to you and your master's wives in your arms. I gave you the house of Israel and Judah, and if all this had been too little, I would have given you even more." Crazy. Anyway, I love God. "I would have given you even more. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing what is evil in his eyes? You struck down Uriah the Hittite with a sword," that's Bathsheba's husband, "and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore the sword will never depart from your house, because you despised me and took the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your own." So it kind of goes on here, and it ends up that the first son that David has with Bathsheba dies because there's a price to sin and everything. But the thing here that I really want to draw out is there's another type of fire that we deal with in life, and that is the fire of our own stupidity. When we make mistakes, we do dumb things, we open the door for bad things to happen to us, for Satan to be able to work in our lives, for people to come against us. Like if you go rob a bank, then you're opening the door for some jail time, and it's not going to be a pleasant experience. So there's this type of fire that can cause pain to us, but it's our own making. And in this fire, for the title of this message, in the fire, true friendships can be purifying. And so in the times that we cause the fire in our lives, true friends are there to call us out and be like, "Look, fool, what are you doing?" And so there's 2 sides to this. And there's the side of when you are the friend that has to call someone out. And then there's the side when you are the friend that has to be called out. Not a pleasant experience. Either one is really. But we're gonna look at first. I want to look at when you have to call someone else out. And so real quick here, I want to look at Matthew 18:15 through 17. Says, "If your brother sins against you, go and show him his fault, just between the 2 of you. If he listens to you, you have won your brother over. But if he will not listen, take 1 or 2 others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church, and if he refuses to listen even to the church, treat him as you would a pagan or a tax collector." Savage. Tax collectors get a really bad rap because they were trifling people back in the day. Kind of trifling now too, but anyway. Does anybody like paying taxes? No. But anyway. But no, so there's different situations in life where you will have friends, and if you want to be a real friend, then you will have to call them out. I find that oftentimes, especially in the world as it is today, when we're kind of the world is kind of trying to understand this idea of Jesus' love, but through your own filter in the world, you'll never be able to understand it, and so it gets misinterpreted and twisted into this thing of, oh, you just have to accept everything as good and don't touch anything and don't tell anyone and don't mess anything up because it's all okay because it's them. Their truth, let them do it. But that is not real love, because real love says, hey, you might not want to rob the bank because you're going to go to jail. And that's going to be an unpleasant experience. And not only is that going to be unpleasant for you, but everybody that loves you as well. Your family, they're going to miss you. Your wife, your husband, your kids, they're going to have some issues without you, And so in these different situations, to not call them out is actually selfish. Because when it comes down to it, most of the time, we don't call out our friends because we don't want to lose them as friends. We're afraid of the conflict, we're afraid of the confrontation, we're afraid that they're going to get angry and leave us, and we enjoy them. We like riding in their car because they take us places, they pay for our food. We don't want to break this relationship because it's super convenient and I don't want to lose it, you know? But when it comes down to it, that's all about you and nothing about them. But if you really care about them, you'll keep them from hurting themselves if at all possible, even at the cost of your friendship. Because you know in the end, either they will recognize that you care and that you're trying to help them, and it'll be a good thing, or they will leave you. That's a potential thing. Or they will leave you, but you'll have done what is right. And in the end, when they make a mistake and their life falls apart, it won't be your fault, because you did everything that you could do because you love them. But if you don't, and they do make a mistake, then you are partially to blame for what happened. That's just a reality. But anyway, so I want to dive in real quick here. There's two different types of calling a friend out, though. Sometimes it calls for a more aggressive approach. Sometimes you can have a less aggressive approach. So I want to kind of dive into instances from my own life where I've had to do this with friends. Always an interesting experience. And you know, when it comes to the more aggressive approach, the important thing to remember is that you cannot be afraid to challenge them. Yes, it's weird, yes, it's uncomfortable, yes, it's hard, but remember that you're doing this because you love them. And though it may hurt in the moment for them, and maybe even for you, this is what love looks like. So for me, I've done this the right way and I've done this the wrong way, another aggressive calling out. So I have this friend, and he's been like my day one. We've been, you know, ever since we started following God, we've been like doing it together. And along the way, he got a girlfriend, who he's married to now. Anyway, and so he got a girlfriend, and so they were like trying to do things the right way and everything. He had slept around a lot before Jesus and all of that, but they were trying to do things the right way. And so, you know, we were trying to like work through that together and everything. We were all pretty new, but we were trying to work through that together, do things the right way, and not get caught in sin. And so what ended up happening, because, you know, emotions, feelings, crazy stuff, man. Anyway, and so eventually he got weaker and weaker and weaker, and he started staying over at her house. They weren't having sex or anything, but he was staying over at his house. Well, the next step after that was going to be sex, because that's just how it works. Yep. Keep that in mind. Anyway, so he was doing this and everything. Well, we were hanging out in my dad's house, and he was venting about his frustrations because people were talking about and assuming that they were having sex. They were like, oh, blah, 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 because it looked like it. And they were like saying stuff, and he was frustrated and angry about it. And so he's talking and venting. And I looked over and I was like, well, based on what you're doing, really wouldn't surprise me if you were having sex with her. And he looked at me, and I was like, yep, this is the end. I'm gonna die. Because he's like that big, and I'm this big. So, and then he left, and I was like, okay, we did that. And he was angry, super angry. But probably a couple days, maybe even a week later, he came back to me. He was like, you know, bro, I was thinking about what you said. I was ready to kill you when you said it. Give me a second. He's like, I was ready to kill you when you said it. He's like, but I really thought about it, and I took a step back outside of my emotions and feelings and looked at what I was doing, and I realized, yeah, you're right, I was being an idiot. And if I don't, you know, challenge this, if I don't remove this, then you're probably right, and I will end up falling into that. And so they got married. They never had sex before marriage, you know, and they made it, you know, woot. And now they've got a great relationship. I look up to them, you know, all of that. But that same friend, like about a month ago, somewhere in there, something was going down. There was a situation, and we were both involved in the situation and everything. And I did not like how he was handling his side of the situation. I felt like he could do better. And I was a bit frustrated. I was really frustrated. And there were valid points to my thoughts. But I called him, and I went off on him. Went off on him. And he's like, whoa, because usually it's the other way around in our relationship. But I went off on him. And then we ended up having to cut our conversation short. And so through that night, God was like, bro, too much, not okay. And so I had to apologize and be like, look, dude, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come at you like that. Here's what I was actually trying to communicate. And it was a great conversation, super good. But these are two situations of one where I had to come at him and challenge him, and it worked out well. The other was where I came at him and challenged him, and there's really no need for that intensity, but I was angry. And so here's the difference here, is whenever you do have to come at somebody, because there will be times that you have to call them out like aggressively. They're not all the time. I've only ever done that, and done it when I was needed to, like twice, I think, and both of them were with him, but anyway, like twice. It's not often, but it does happen. The thing to keep in mind when doing this is to be able to check yourself and say, am I doing this because I'm worried that he's going to hurt himself or she's going to hurt herself because of what they're doing, and I love them enough to help them? Or do I not like what they're doing and it angers me, and so I want to stop them? And if it's that, then you need to check yourself, because you're the one with the problem, not them. So this is the important thing to keep in mind here. But like I said, that situation is not going to be the most often. Yes, you have to be willing to do it. Yes, you have to love them enough to do it. But it should never be your first approach to these things, because most of the time it's not necessary. The other way of calling out a friend, and before we get into this, I'm going to look at Galatians 6, 1 through 2. Boom, love those guys. It says, brothers, if someone is caught in a sin, you who are spiritual should restore him gently, but watch yourself, or you also may be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. So this is going to be the most common way that you have to challenge your friends in what they're doing. And what this is going to look like is you see somebody moving in a wrong direction, not like on the edge of like, woo, innocent, but kind of moving in the wrong direction. And you go to them and you're like, hey, I just noticed that you're doing this thing, and I don't really think this is going to be good, and I don't really think this is going to be helpful. Why are you doing this? And that's an important thing right there. Never come at somebody assuming you know why, because there's always a reason why everybody does everything. Everybody has a reason for what they're doing. It may not always be a good one, and your reason cannot be used as an excuse to free you to do whatever, but there is a reason. And so when challenging people in what they're doing, remember that they're doing it for a reason. They're not just doing it most of the time. They're not just doing it because they're like, I hate God, I want to do whatever I want to do. Like, probably not going to be the case. And so there's a reason why they're doing what they're doing. So when you come to them and be like, hey, what's wrong? What's hurt you? What's come at you? What has caused you to move in this direction? And then when they tell you, because y'all are close friends, you shouldn't necessarily be doing this with people that you're not close friends with. Because you can't just walk some random and be like, I think you're in sin. Not a good idea. Not going to go well. But when they tell you, because you're close friends, the important thing to keep in mind here is once this begins, you cannot walk away from them. Because this type of challenging somebody, this type of calling somebody out, this is a process. Because like I said, something put them here. Something hurt them. Something broke them. It may be something recent. It may be something in the past that's just come up. And this is going to be a process that they have to work through. And that God has to work with them through. And your job is to be God's hands and his heart in working through this process. So your challenging them in this is not to be like, fix it, I'm out. That's not the point. The point of you challenging is to say, hey, I see a problem here. Why is there a problem? What's going on with you internally? And then when they tell you, okay, now let me help you walk through that. And then you were there for them. Now, I've had to do this as well. I have another friend who has been doing this for a little while now. And in the beginning of him kind of like getting, surrendering his life to God and kind of coming here and starting to get things straight, he was like an absolute mess. And we kind of connected really well because we think similarly and we have similar relationship with God and everything, and it just worked. And so why it works, I have no idea, because we disagree on like everything other than Jesus. But anyway, so he was a mess and we connected, and so I was like, hey, you need this, I'm here for you. No matter what, I'm here. Anytime, at all. Call me, whatever, I'm here. And so for the next year, he called me almost every single day. Most of the time, he was drunk when he called me. Every single day. But even while he was drunk, we worked through some of his issues. Now, in this, you gotta be careful to not allow yourself to fall into the pit with them, like he was just talking about, but to love them in the pit at a distance. But he called me every single day, and then eventually we realized that for him to be able to work through this process and to be able to break that hold, because there's kind of this point of, I've lived this way for so long, this is all I've known, this pain, this hurt, this bondage, this is what I know, this is what's real to me, and you can get them to hear, and they're like, I get that this isn't good, I get that this isn't right, this isn't even what I want, but I don't know how to break the pattern. And in order for him to break the pattern, he realized that he could not be alone on Friday nights. And so for the next 9 months, every Friday night, me and him went and saw a movie. Now conveniently, he had a good job and he paid for it because I had no money. But every Friday night, we went and saw a movie. And now, that was 2 years ago. And now he's doing amazing. Amazing. Love that guy. But anyway, but this is the example of most of the time when it comes to dealing through things with friends and dealing with the wrong things that they're doing and doing with the self-created fire, there's a reason for it. And the goal of friendship, the goal of true friendship where you actually love them, is to address the reason, find the reason with them, and then walk with them through the process. Because they cannot do it alone. We are not designed to be able to overcome things alone. And God cannot just get up with them and do it, because he chose to tie his hands and say, I'm going to use humanity. I don't know if that was the best move, but he did it. No, he's got it, he's smart. But he decided to tie his hands and say, I'm going to use humanity, I'm going to work through people. And that means that in order for your friend to get to the other side of the thing that they cannot face alone, they need you to love them enough to walk with them through it, to care, to not judge them, to not be angry at them, to not come against them, to not add on to the hurt, but to, when they're doing dumb things, to be like, hey, that's wrong, I know that's wrong, now let's keep working through it. To not be 3 months in and be like, bro, you're just doing the same things, I keep telling you the same things, you keep making the same mistakes, I'm tired of this, I'm out. Because then, not only do they reset to the beginning, but they've just been broken because they trusted you. And now they reset even farther back. And there's a good chance that they're going to walk away. And that they're going to leave. And you don't want that on you. So it's important to, once you begin this, to understand that to truly love someone is to be there no matter what. And so once you begin this, you cannot walk away. Because you love them. Unless they throw you away. Because that happens. Sure. But you don't want to walk away from them because you love them enough to be there for them. Now, moving on to the fun part. This is the hardest thing for me in my life. The next thing is that as a friend, there will be times that you are the idiot and you need to be called out. And so, in dealing with these times, Because we all do dumb stuff. We all make mistakes. We all get in situations. We have things that are hurting us. We have things that broke us a long time ago. We have things that are coming against us now. And we have reasons why we want to hide, or we want to run, or we start making mistakes, or we start moving in the wrong direction, or we start hiding away and getting on our island and doing things by ourselves, which never works out well. And we all have reasons, but we need those people in our lives that will call us out. And they'll be like, hey, seems like there's something off here. What's going on? I want to help you through this. But the key for you is when you're on this side, your job is to make their job easier. Because they can love you all they want. But if you refuse to be vulnerable with them, they cannot help you. And so, got a little 3-step thing here to help you out in this situation. The first one is to shut up. because when someone comes up to you and they're your friend, they're your homie, you love them, they're great, but they come up to you and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, your life is a mess. Why? Most likely, your first response is going to be, whoa, fool, back up. Don't come at me like that. Don't be trying to call me out on this. But you need to remember that you chose this friend for a reason.
Right.
They are in your life for a reason. This is the second point. They're in your life for a reason because you trust them.
That's right.
If you don't trust them, don't be close with them. But they're in your life for a reason. You chose them there because you trust them. So be vulnerable. Be willing to listen to what they're saying, because you may sit there and think, because a lot of times we're blind to our own failures, just like David. Boy's like, that guy that stole the sheep, kill him. He needs to die. Nathan's like, bro, it's you. And that's us quite often, because we're real good at blinding ourselves to our own failures, our own mistakes, our own issues, and the things that we're dealing with and all of that. Let's see, how am I doing? Not too bad. All right. It's easy to blind ourselves to our own mistakes and our own issues, the things that we're doing and where we're slipping off, because we don't want to believe that we're wrong. We don't want to believe that we're making mistakes. We don't want to believe that we've gone the wrong direction.
That's right.
And so when that person comes, you need to shut up before you come back at them. And then remember that you chose them for a reason, and it's because you trusted them and you're willing to be vulnerable with them. And then you need to be willing to be honest with yourself. Because most of the time, when it comes to us doing dumb things, the cause of that is a pain or an issue or a hurt that we do not want to deal with. We do not want to face because it hurts. And so we convince ourselves that we're just doing this other thing, this wrong thing, because it's fun, or because we enjoy it, or because we like it, or because it's cool. But most of the time, there's a root to that. There's something driving you to do that. And so in this, you have to be honest enough with yourself to say, all right, homie, I know that you care, and there might be something to what you're saying here, and I really feel like I'm just doing this because I enjoy it, and I want to do it, but I know that usually there's something else going on, and so can you help me find what it is? Will you walk with me to find the root of this issue and to address the hurt or the underlying issue that's driving me in this direction? Yeah. I have an example of this. I drank a lot of water.
Yeah.
Conveniently, my own stupidity has given me a great analogy for this over the past couple weeks, a great example. Pretty recently, I had a situation that went down that hurt a lot. And so, it was an emotional deal and everything. But when it went down, I was like, all right, addressing this with God and everything. My friends were there, people cared, and they're like, you doing okay? You doing good? I'm like, yeah, we're good. Processing the emotions, processing the pain and all of that. And, I felt like I was doing pretty good. I was good. But what I didn't realize at the time is that that situation had catalysed something in me that kicked me off course here and put me back in a position of kind of being weighted under my own insecurities and fears, because I may be up here and preaching, but I have insecurities too, guys. We all have things that we're dealing with. We all have insecurities and fears of the different things going on in our lives. And so, kicked me off course and put me back in the weight of the insecurities of my life, and seeing the direction that I believe God wants to take me and the scale that I believe He wants me to do this at scares me sometimes. And I'm like, you do realize that, like, I'm not actually capable of doing that, right? He's like, yeah, but I make you capable. I'm like, I don't know. And most of the time, we do pretty well with that, where we've worked through that and everything, and it's all good. But this situation hit me in a way that it kicked me over back into this place of insecurity. And so I did what every insecure person does, and I hid. I kind of like took a step back from everything, and it wasn't necessarily an obvious step back, but internally I took a step back, and I was like, I'm gonna deal with me, and I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm just gonna push pause on the whole like purpose and plan for my life thing, because I'm not feeling that right now. And so I took a step back. But in this, I had a friend, just so happens to be the friend that I went to movies with all the time. I had a friend who noticed, trifling of him, no, it's good, but who noticed. And so on a phone call a couple weeks ago, he was like, hey bro, what's up? I'm like, nothing's up, all is well. He's like, I don't think so, there's something wrong with you, something's off. I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna talk about it, because I don't wanna talk about it. Because like I said, this is the hard one for me. I despise being vulnerable. Hate it, I feel like everybody does, but I really hate being vulnerable. And it's something that God's been working with me on a lot, is being willing to be vulnerable with people. But he's like, hey, you good? I feel like something's off. And I'm like, yeah, there is something off, because I couldn't lie, but we're not talking about it. And he's like, you really should though. I'm like, nope. And he's like, you remember years ago, I'm like, here we go. You remember years ago when I didn't want to talk to you about anything, and you told me over and over and over and over and over and over and over that the only way for me to heal was to be open and talk about it. I'm like, yep, I sure do. Still not doing it. And so he was like, all right, love you, bro. It's cool. Here for you. Remember, talk to me. Love you. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, he didn't know at the time, but what he had done, because he was a loving friend, is he had forced me into a position that I had to be honest with myself. Because when he said something, I shut up. And I remember that I talked to him for a reason, I chose him for a reason. And then I was like, now I have to be honest with myself, and I have to talk to God about what's going on, what I'm dealing with. And so over the next little bit, I started to open up and kind of deal with it and everything. I'm like, trying to make sure that that I can recognize what the issue is and everything. And so I'm like, cool, me and God, we dealing with this, because like I can be vulnerable with God. I don't have to be vulnerable with people. It's chill, because even I can be that dumb sometimes. And so I'm like, I don't need to be vulnerable with people. It's chill. I can be vulnerable with God. And a couple days later, he calls me again. He's like, hey bro, how you doing? I'm like, fine. And so we go through this again, the exact same thing, but what he doesn't realize is he just pushed me even closer to dealing with it. And now I'm even more in a situation of like, I don't want to be here, because in this place of insecurity, in this place of fear, in this place outside of where God has you, it's dark, it's no fun, it's empty, you feel alone, you feel lost, you feel hurt, you feel like you can never do anything, you're unfulfilled, because the only way to be fulfilled in life is to walk in purpose that God has called you to. And so it's not a great place. And so I'm starting to wake up to this, I'm starting to realize this, but I'm still not talking to him. but I'm starting to get through it. And so then, this past weekend, I went to Pennsylvania to visit a church up there and everything. Me, this friend, and one of my brothers went up there. And while we were up there, I finally broke, and I talked to him yesterday. I told you this was recent. I talked to him yesterday about everything that I've been dealing with. And really, all it was, this is the crazy thing, is the smallest things can kick you off course. And if you refuse to deal with them, they will grow and they will grow and they will grow and they will grow. And it's not like I was out there killing people or anything. I was still here. I was still doing everything. I was still loving y'all. I was still making my videos every day. I was still in the Word. I was still, loving the Lord and everything. But I had just taken a step back. And if I had kept going, eventually, it would have gotten worse and worse and worse. And eventually, I would have broke. But I had a friend who loved me enough to call me out. You good? I had a friend who loved me enough to call me out. And when he called me out and I refused to talk to him, he loved me enough to not give up, to not walk away, to keep calling me out, and to keep calling me out, and to keep being there for me, and to keep loving me in spite of my stubbornness. He continued to love me. And because of that, I'm able to share this wonderful story with y'all and help y'all to not do the same thing that I did. But the thing in this is, true love is always going to say, what can I do to help you? And when it comes to dealing with the fires of life, really whether they be created by the world or created by yourself, you will not be able to make it through. Doesn't everything just sound so much more spiritual with piano in the background? Anyway, you will not be able to make it through. And the people around you will not be able to make it through without having true friends in their lives. And we are called to be that true friend. And you never know when this person that you've reached out to, that you've loved, that you've walked through it with, that you've been frustrated with, but you've loved them anyway and stayed there, you never know when you're going to need that. And just like with me, that person that not that long ago was a mess and you were helping them, all of a sudden, you become the mess and they're helping you. But this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what we're designed to be in the body. We are designed to be deficient without others. God created Adam and looked at Adam, and he walked and talked and hung out with Adam personally. But he looked at Adam and said, this isn't good. Adam's alone. Yeah, he has me, but Adam's alone. He needs another person in his life, because when Adam's down, he's going to need someone standing next to him to lift him up. And then when that new person I'm about to create is down, she's going to need somebody standing next to her to lift her up. And this is what we're designed to be for each other. This right here, this room, this is our family. We are the body of Christ. We are designed to be a family, to love each other through everything and through anything, through the darkest times and the greatest times. When everything's going well and it's awesome and we're all following the Lord and everything's beautiful and glorious and we're walking in purpose, we can be excited and rejoice and be happy together. But when everything's a mess and we feel lost and we feel broken and we feel empty and we don't want to keep going, we want to quit because it hurts, because we feel like we're getting nowhere, we feel like we cannot do this, we're there for each other. But for us to be able to be there for each other, we have to be honest. Because you can sit here every day, every week, and be hurting, and feel broken, and feel lost, and be ready to give up. But if you never say that to anybody, Because people will try and notice, people will try and care, but they may not. But if you're not willing to be honest and say, hey, I need help, then you may never get what you need. And life is here. Hope is here. There's no other option. I've tried them all. I've tried everything. And the only way to have real life, to have real hope, to have real strength, to have real peace, to have real joy, no matter what's going on in life, is through a relationship with Jesus. But that relationship is only as strong as you let it to be. And when you put things in the way, it's not God backing up from you, it's you backing up from Him. And so we need the people in our lives that are willing to challenge us and say, hey, I know you don't want to live here. I know you feel like getting out is your only answer. But remember, your only answer is Jesus. That's why you came here to begin with. That's why we're all here to begin with. Let me help you. And then to respond to that and say, okay, I know what to do. Help you. And that's what we're here for. Because we will. Because we love you. I don't come here every week just to do it. I come here every week because I love you. The leaders come here every week because we love you. Ain't none of us getting paid. We come here every week because we love you. Because y'all are important to us. And as y'all come and grow, you become important to each other. I loved the senior panel that we did a couple weeks back because I saw unity. I saw a family. And that is all I ever want out of y'all. Is that y'all will love each other enough to be there no matter what. So close our eyes and bow our heads right real quick. I've talked about the people in our lives and the people that we need and needing each other, needing friends. We can't do this alone. But real love, real hope, real joy, real peace, real strength, real healing begins in relationship with Jesus. Yeah, we need people, but the people are no good if we're dead inside. And without Jesus, we're dead. So Jesus came, He looked at us and He saw a broken and lost and dead humanity and said, I love them too much to leave them that way. And so Jesus came to this earth. He lived 33 years. He was hated. He was unwanted. He was God who created everything and everyone, and yet we rejected Him. He did nothing wrong, never sinned. He loved everybody. He healed everybody that He could. He brought life to everyone that He could, and people hated Him anyway. All the way to the point that they crucified Him. The most horrible death you could ever die. And He allowed them to, because He didn't have to. He allowed us to, because He loves us, because He loves you. But He didn't stay dead. Like a boss, He rose, and He brought life to us, because in His death, He conquered death. Because death was a result of sin, and He lived perfect, and He died perfect. And so He looked at Satan in the face and said, you're done. I beat you. And now, I'm taking all of them with me. But, like I said, God has tied His hands. He's not going to force you to do anything. Because He loves you enough to let you choose. And so tonight, right here, you may have never made this choice to accept that gift that He gave, that He paid for with His life. You may have never accepted that gift of relationship with Him, of life in Him, of new life in Him and freedom. And this family that you become a part of here. But you can right now. If you want to say yes to Him and say, I'm done trying to live my own life. This is a mess. I hate this. I want hope, I want healing, I want life. And right now, you can choose him. And we want to help you with that. Because that's what we're here for. Because we love you. And so if that's you and you're here and you don't have a relationship with him and you don't know him yet, then I want you to simply just raise your hand to let me know that you're saying yes, and to let Jesus know that you're saying yes. Like I said, I tried everything in life. I tried complete darkness. I tried drugs. I tried anger. I tried hate. I tried everything. And nothing filled the void. I always felt empty. I had no real purpose in life. I had no fulfillment. I just spun around in circles, broken, hurting. And then finally, one day, he got through my hard head. And I said, fine, I'm done. If you want my life, take it. And boy, am I glad I made that decision. Because my life is amazing. Yeah, I have struggles. Yeah, I have things like I just talked about. I fight with God sometimes. I have issues. But my life is amazing. I have purpose. I have reason for being. I have a love in me that is overwhelming and amazing. And it flows from him. And you can have that too. So I want to give another opportunity. If that's you here, to just raise your hand and we'll pray with you. Father, I thank you for your love for us. I thank you for the amazing people that you've put in our lives. I thank you for this family here. I thank you that we don't have to do this alone. And I thank you that you help us to be open. You help us to be honest. You help us to be willing to challenge each other and willing to be challenged. And you bring strength to us and you bring joy to us and hope to us no matter what happens. I thank you for your life in us, for your hope in us, for your joy in us, your peace in us. You are amazing. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm sure next week, my boy, Pastor Jason's going to pray for y'all and do his thing and everything. But what I wanted to do is I just want to tell y'all while I'm up here that I am incredibly proud of you. And I love you very much. I've seen y'all, some longer than others. I've seen y'all come in here all messed up. And I've seen y'all grow into amazing people. And I'm so very proud of both of you, all of you. I'm pretty sure there's only 2 in here right now. 3. There's a 3rd. Oh yeah, my sister.
I got you, Grace. I remembered you this time.
My girl. Anyway. But no, seriously, I'm incredibly proud of all of you. Because y'all are amazing. I know life seems intense and huge and big, and it can be crazy. It can be a lot. But y'all can do this. Y'all got this.
Yes.
And probably the most important thing that I can tell you, well, 2 most important things. I have 2. The 2 most important things I can tell you is 1, to set your eyes and never take them off. Your life is not your own. Hold on to that. Because life as your own is a mess. But life surrendered is amazing. So set your focus, set your surrender, and never take your focus off. And the second thing is to remember that no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter where you're going or doing or whatever, to remember that this remains your family. Because we still love you. We're not like, get out, moving on. We still love you. You are still important to each and every one of us. And know that at any time that you can call us, you can come to us, 20 years from now, I can get a call from one of y'all. I'm going to be like, yo, what up? What you need? Because I love you. And that's all of us. So, now that I've done that, I believe I'm good. It's red light. So we are done. Thank you. I love you all.